Alright, well, we're back on the Honda after a little Ford excursion, no pun intended, or maybe it was. A couple things came in. Got the bearing that I ordered for the differential carrier, which technically wasn't the real failure, but I've got one that's bad anyway, so we'll be changing that. I'm still waiting for the shipping confirmation of the bearings for our little gear there. Have not seen that yet. Hopefully that's going to be coming. I haven't seen a cancellation of it. Got a replacement sensor. I went with an NTK, since those have generally seemed to have decent luck on the inner tubes. But right now, I think what I want to do is, phew, that thing is pretty well mulched. I think I want to, debating whether to put that cover back on it and flip it over, or just flip it over on a couple of blocks of wood, so I can get the other side off of this thing and maybe be able to punch this bearing out. It's Japan, NTN, alright, I think I got some numbers on it. Yep, we do. So, if nothing else, I should be able to find a replacement, maybe Motion Industries, not Motion Raceworks, although they're good too, but they don't deal in this kind of stuff. If I can't get them directly from Honda, I'll find a comparable bearing at Motion locally and get both of those. I think I'm going to replace them both since I'm in there. Why not? The other one's not. The other one makes some noise, but it isn't. It isn't this. And it does appear to be a riveted or spot welded cage. Kind of hard to see because the carnage is so bad. There's more chunks that are loose. But so we're going to try to flip this thing over and not damage this cute little pump drive. I'm assuming on the back side of this is where the chain is. Maybe we'll see that in the next side when I get it off to try to clean everything out. Okay, that's all okay. So that's what we're going to try to do now, is get this thing turned over on its back and see if we can get that back cover off. Yay. Alright, we got her sitting on her side. Made a hellacious mess again. Dumped all the rest of the oil on the ground, stepped in it, tracked it all over the place, but nothing's touching the ground. And now I guess we're going to pull all of these bolts and see what we got. Kind of neat. Actually has a VIN tag on the engine, so numbers matching. Or VIN tag on the trans, and there's one on the back of the engine too, which is kind of neat. I don't know why you'd care about such things, but they do. So I'm going to get this set up. We'll get the old, looks like 12mm out, and start popping all these bolts off. Really? Okay. Right in the dead center. It seems to be it. Some tappy taps. couple of tubes in there. All right. Phew. Okay. Everything looks pretty good. Not a lot of excessive wear on whatever that stuff is. Set this guy over here. And there's the drive chain. Little dimple there for the tension. This must be our gear selector mechanism. Couple of tubes. Gasket. That's interesting. The tubes are going to have to come off to put that gasket back on. That gasket actually looks in decent shape. We got our 2 dowels. Okay. Very nice setup. Set those over there. Alright, I don't see too much junk. That bearing is a very similar setup. It looks fine. No cage issues there. So, yeah, the chain is inside of all of that, which is pretty wild. It's going to be tough. I don't see any junk from the bearing in here. I may just clean this gasket up, put this bad boy back together, because everything on this side looks okay, and I think the carnage is actually up under here where that bearing would have let go and gone. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to clean this up, clean that cover up, put it back on for now. Pretty wild. A couple of tubes with some little O-rings for oil passages. We'll probably have to redo those. And yeah, so that didn't show us too much, but the gasket is in, I would say, serviceable shape on this side. So we're going to put that back together, and we may re-gasket it and re-O-ring it once the rest of the parts arrive. Yeah, but she's not too bad over here. But I think I'm going to have to get into the middle here to find all the rest of my bearing chunks. Alright, we got that back on, no problems. 27 foot-pounds for all of the bolts. Got them all snugged up, torqued down, and so now we're going to flip it back over and think about if I really want to get this deep into it, or if I just want to stick a magnet up in there and swish it around a little bit and see if I can capture anything. Because going much further than this requires really heavy disassembly of all of the drive mechanisms and the planetaries and everything else. And you know, I could certainly do it because it doesn't look like you need any special tools, but I don't really want to because I don't think it's necessary. Hopefully I can possibly fish out some more of those bearing chunks. Either that or we're going to put it back together when we get the other bearings and hope. Now, hope isn't a strategy, but it's what I got. Because we'll see what we want to do. But yeah, let's flip this over and see what we got going on. What the hell is this? Yeah, okay then. I think, actually that was kind of helpful, because look what fell out while we were in there. More big chunks. And I actually think that I saw some oh yeah. Okay, now I'm getting a little happier. I'm getting some big chunks out of there now. Okay, that's good. That's a bunch. Okay, some of that stuff seems like it's still pretty well attached to the balls. Let's see if we can catch anything else down in there. Doesn't seem like it. Okay, what did we just find? A bunch more chunks. Okay. That makes me feel a little bit better. That's a pretty good pile of metal in there. And the other thing I was kind of hoping is I would find a way to pull that bearing from, or push that bearing from the backside, and it does not appear that there is any, because that side of the case is closed, even if you take that other cover off. So, I'm not quite sure how we're going to get that bad boy out of there. Okay. A few more chunks. That's interesting. Strange. Yep, that was definitely a few more chunks of metal coming out of that seal. So, I think we're finding it all, or as much as we can expect. Now I'm going to try to figure out how I'm going to pull that bearing out of there, because it's seated there's no real way to get behind it, and I guess I could try pulling on the inner race, but I don't expect that's going to be terribly successful. It's possible that my little bushing puller that I got for doing manual transmission bushings in the flywheels or in the crank, that might grab that. I don't know. I don't know. We're going to think about this one for a little while, because that's what we got to get off of there. This is some of my finest work. If this works, this is some of my finest work ever. Alright, it actually broke it loose and popped it up. Now I just got to figure out how to get a little more height on this disaster. That actually did break the bearing loose. It's popped up. Alright, yeah, that's definitely my finest work. So now I'm going to see what I can come up with to set under here to lift this terrible little U-frame up and try this again, because I think we got it. Alright, let's watch this nightmare. Come on, baby. Almost. Almost. As it popped and lost purchase. Oh, I see what's wrong. This one slipped. Ow. Okay. It's coming. It's coming. It's not much in there, but it's in there enough. So we're gonna keep beating on it. It's coming out. Okay. Well, that nightmare is over. And the bearing is out. There she is. Alright, well, we did a little damage to the housing. Nothing terribly significant. That's not going to be a big deal. The seat looks to be good all the way around, basically. I have to clean it real good because there's some metal chunks in it. Now there's some dirt and junk in it from my cobbled puller. But I think we got lucky because you can see this is skived a little bit from where the cage was beaten on it for however long it was while it failed. But the seat looks good, and the ID looks good too. So that's good. Now we just got to wait for the other bearing to come in. And maybe buy a real bearing puller, because that was stupid. But it worked. And didn't damage anything, I don't think. Yeah, I think we're in good shape. Not bad. So I think what I'm going to do now is get a razor blade and just clean up this surface a little bit, get this crud off of it, because that's going to have to all get cleaned up. Everything else looks pretty good though. Nothing too stupid looking. Yeah, I think I got most, if not all, of the bearing cage junk out. There may be a few little pieces that snuck their way down into there, but I don't hear them. But I have a pretty significant pile of shards over there. It was a riveted bearing, a riveted cage, but yeah, so we're getting there. We're just gonna do some cleaning, and maybe at some point today see if we can get the bearing off, the bad bearing off of the differential itself, and get that swapped over. That I can use an external puller on that one, so that one will be a little bit less stupid than that. So there we go. Alright, well, I'm kind of hoping that my Honda order comes in, because this is apparently an absolute freak show. It's 27 mil ID, 75 OD, and 19 width. That is beyond non-standard. So, I mean, SKS, even NTN that made this bearing, they don't even have a bearing with these dimensions. They have a 27 by 75, but it's only like 15 width. So that is an absolute freak show bearing, of course. So hopefully the order I placed with Honda will come in. And now I'm going to go try to find my Honda part that I ordered and see if I can do some searching, because this number, which appears to be, I don't know, SXD5C01CM13, cross-references to a Google bomb. There is nothing out there with that number anywhere. So that's interesting. Hopefully Honda has those, because they said these have been discontinued. I found one randomly on Amazon. That one. So yeah, that's interesting. So I'm not going to pull the other one yet, because that one's not as bad, and if I only can get one of them, we're only going to put that one back in. I don't want to disturb the other one. So yeah, there's that. I'm still going to try to get that new bearing on this thing. Alright, so I looked, and I've got a shipping notice on the gasket kit, so that's good. And I have not gotten a cancellation on those, which let's hope, because that's going to get interesting. And here's my crunchy bearing, and I did notice this one is, the new one has a shield on one side and is open on the other. This one also has a shield on one side and is open on the other. So I am going to just set up a standard puller on this and see if we can be a little less silly than I was when I had to pull that one out from the inside. We'll see if she comes out. Alright, let's see. Oh yeah, she's moving. She's moving. Not how you should do it, but it's how I'm doing it, because this bearing's junk anyway. There she goes. Now it's really junk. Come here. Yeah, not what you want. That one, I'm going to say, is from neglect. So, that goes in the trash pile. Let's see what we got here. Everything looks pretty good. We got our new guy. Still spinny, but way less crunchy. And now we just have to beat the tar out of that. On the inner race, of course, push it down. I don't have a true driver, so I'm going to attempt to find a socket that will just touch the inner race, and then we're going to put this on the ground and tap it in place. Alright, it is not sitting on the bearing on the bottom, because it's got two teeth, I guess, of the differential carrier that are sticking out below the bearing. So it's on the wood, and then we got a block of wood on top and the socket, and we're going to drive her on. Yeah, she's moving. Yeah, she's moving. I lubed it up all good. Funny, the new one is not as quiet as the old one. The old one has some thicker oil in it. But alright, there we go. Differential is repaired. So, at this point, I am pretty much not much to do on this thing until my bearings and gasket kit come in. So it's probably going to be a few more days for that. But we got that bearing on, which is nice. Get that all covered up again, like that. Alright. And then I'm going to wait for this disaster. So, cover it back up, keep love bugs out of it, maybe. And that's where we are. So, we are getting there. Now we're just waiting for the other bearings. And we'll see you when they come in. Take care.